Bonjour mes amis, it's your boy Skinny Penis again. Today we're going to have a very long and in-depth video about the Smâland. Played it a lot lately, spammed it a bit, specifically on my second account, so I obviously collected some nice replays. We're hopping right into the first game. There are going to be two replays that I'm going to talk about. A bit about Captain Spec and modules so you can visualize it better. Probably going to mention it a lot in the actual game as well. So we are playing against 5 battleships, a Nakhimov, Des Moines and Nevsky, and Azuma and 3DDs. Very nice matchmaking. The DDs are fairly bad against me. They're not going to do a whole lot against me. The biggest issue in this matchmaking is obviously the Nakhimov and the Nevsky. Des Moines I generally have to dodge close up, but I can most likely dodge him at range with speed boost. Nevsky is a bit of another caliber. Nevsky arcs and reload don't really allow me to effectively fight it below like 12 km. And above that I probably won't hit the Nevsky myself, so these are like the ships I have to watch out for. Obviously here, carrier game, it's pretty cancer. Nakhimov doesn't really do much with rockets and torpedoes against DDs, though I have to really care about the skip bombs. There's a Nakhimov, and the Nakhimov is half decent. You do actually have to watch out for the skip bombs. Even if he's like really bad, the skip bombs can essentially half HP with one drop easy mode, so always do be careful about that. So we got mid spawn, sadly unlucky. As I said in the French DD or Ragnar games, I most likely enjoy getting flank control with my DDs first, so obviously Smâland also really good at that, just going into the flank and counter-radaring the enemy DD, and if it's not there and you can't kill it, then you at least spot for your team. Here it's a Schultz, AP loaded for the broadside. Smâland is a very small caliber, and the German gunboat DDs are very thick, so as you can see you get a lot of damage here through full pens, because literally every single AP shell you hit on him is a full pen, while my HE would shatter on the obviously 25mm armor on the side. This area here is really nice for Smâland. I do have radar above the cap, and I can also use the islands for farming. Currently, because carrier is still like roaming around, there's no real point for me to go into the cap. As you can see, the carrier is already spamming his third fighter here. He's currently up with torpedoes for whatever reason, but the Nakhimov seems to be close behind Yamato in Hanover. So going into the cap at the moment against potential dive or like skip bombers that could come is most likely not that smart. Also, I can free farm the Zuyus for now, should be fine. If the Schultz touches the cap, I can radar that, and we're just essentially chilling here. The next problem would be that the Des Moines could pretty much move forward at any given point in time and radar me out. For now he's like fairly far away, it's like 11 km, but you never know if he just pushes nose in and tries to fuck you over with a radar. So we're just chilling here. Slowly but surely you can realize on the minimap that the entire 910 line is free. The Nostrashimi is also going to spot there. I don't know what our Nevsky on the other side is doing, but it seems like the enemy team is obviously going to push through on A. There's Schlief and GK, and unless our Preuss and Nevsky are really good players, or Richthofen is an insane carrier, they're most likely going to push that side. So slowly but surely I'm on a timer. You will also see I'm going, the Zuyus is kiting away. Nothing else is in range, so I'm definitely going to grab the cap in a few seconds. The carrier stopped humping this side for now, so maybe I get a chance at grabbing the cap for free without spotting. But yeah, in general, you want to be in front of caps in the beginning. You don't want to dive it directly. That's something, it's the same with like in arms race with the buffs. Unless the buff is spawned on your half, you shouldn't instantly dive it. Depending on the matchmaking, you can definitely run into a cap and force the DD kill, or if you're forced to, you could do that. But in the beginning, it's probably more advisable to stay in front of it, since you have the means of outspotting the enemy DD at 7.5 and get damage into him and drive him away. Also, if your team is focusing the DD, you might actually get the kill immediately. It's easier like if you're not going for caps. My general opinion would be, if you spawn on a flank, you go to the flank first. So if I would have spawned A or C, I would have been 9-10 or 1-2. essentially securing the flank through spotting and driving the enemy DD away. You notice that random players do play a lot more aggressive than, or actually they don't drop position and go beeline kite immediately. Here I drop torps for the Hanover. At this point you don't shoot. First of all, we're already down 2 ships. We don't have a cap yet. The Johann is getting mid cap, but it's not looking too good on the other side. I mean, the Nevsky already died, but the Fletcher's probably next. And our carrier hasn't moved yet, so he's essentially also at risk of fucking up. Next thing is, if I would shoot here, the Hanover would know I've sent torps. He should know anyways, also the Fletcher immediately died. So we're down on 130 points, but we get 2 caps now and we need them quickly so we can avoid getting zeroed and we can actually keep playing the game until late game. So I'm still also at some point you just see that my torps are going to hit, which they did now. He also DCP'd the fire beforehand. He DCP'd the fire because he saw the torps already. So that's kind of something you can do in BBs. If you have like one or two fires, you can, since your damage con lasts like 10-15 seconds, you can pop it before the torps hit, and when they hit they can't get a flood or the engine damage either. So you like negate like 5 or 10 seconds of fire damage if you time it correctly. Now the man DCP'd, now I can open up. He's also a non-fire prevention guy. I have 2 fires immediately. His superstructure is also mostly unsaturated, so that guy just pretty much killed himself and actually gives us a way back into the game. Now I have to care for the Nakhimov bombers as well, but you can see he goes for someone else, so you don't really have to force angle. That's why I continued. Always keep an eye out for the approach angles of the Nakhimov bombers. If they actually turn in towards you in a DD, then you mostly you even have to pop speed boost on Smâland immediately and turn away. Like, you can't afford to take the Nakhimov bombers broadside. Here I'm trying to shoot down the fighters, so spotting is gone on, for example, Hindenburg or Hanover. Nakhimov is close. At this point, it's not advisable to keep pushing. The Zuyus is coming, or the last spotted position of the Zuyus was closer to us, so that's why I asked for a smoke, so I could maybe farm him without risking the Nakhimov. That guy is essentially inting. We're shooting AP again, as you can see, and you will see that he gets pretty much evaporated by that AP. I mean, look, it's very chunky. It's just Elbing and Schulz, if you're close up in Smâland, don't really have a great time. Like, you can essentially fuck an Elbing immediately if you're just close enough with AP. That's pretty cool. I would generally advise against loading AP unless it's an Elbing, maybe a Ragnar, but you don't really want to fight Ragnar anyways. But Elbing, Schulz, and Gearing, because the Gearing also shatters your HE on the main section. It has 21, I think, armor plating, which is also enough to shatter your HE. So that's why sometimes you may have a hard time killing a Gearing in a Smâland. But if he's close enough, you can also load AP there. On other DDs, just keep shooting HE. The DPM is great. You get module damages, you get fires. You also don't have to pretty much get RNG based pens, because most DDs don't necessarily fuse your AP that well. You also don't have improved pen angles, so it's not as good as Daring AP, for example, or Druid AP, or Elbing AP for that measure. So what is happening now? Essentially, they're creating a Nevsky, a Zuma, Nakhimov, and then there's even a Yamato and a Zuyus that's very healthy in base. So there's no way you will have an option or time to push into their base without actually getting any value there. Not even spotting is of any value there at this point. Also, we have a Cyclone hitting. You can see the Nevsky at range. I was like 13-14 kilometers. He still manages to hit me because I don't have a speed boost up. Yeah. You see the gearing on the minimap. You also see the enemy team's positions. Azuma and Nevsky are still turned out, so they're not a threat, an immediate threat in B, so I can go there without risking to get caught or fucked by them. The only ones who could turn back in immediately are the Zuyus or even the Yamato if he accelerated in. These 2 ships are easily avoidable by me though. So now, since the gearing tries to contest since like a minute, we're going for the gearing. My expectation is he's full HP. He's just, I think he's on 1000 HP. Yeah, there you go. And he's just inting into the Hindenburg, which is a nice gift. Though it didn't matter. Like, if he stays in that smoke and contests from there, I will also most likely just radar him and either the Hindenburg or me kill me. So now B is cleared. Now we see there's GK, Schlieffen, Chungmu still pushing onto our ships, and we have the problem of the Cyclone, which means first of all we can't farm at range, so battleships are a massive issue because we can only start farming them at 8 km, and on top of that we have two secondary BBs in front of us, which means I can't really engage at 8 kilometers with my guns. But what I can do is try to cut them off with torps, because essentially they have to angle towards Richthofen and Yamato. First of all, they want to hunt them. Second of all, the Yamato also shoots back, obviously. The only thing you might get fucked by here in terms of torping is, luckily the Chungmu dies, but that was like the original reason I came up here, to maybe catch the Chungmu going in front of the Schlieffen, killing him, draining HP against Schlieffen secondaries, but at least getting the DD out. Fortunately, he died. The only thing you have to care now is that the carrier doesn't send torpedoes to make the Schlieffen turn in a weird way. But as you can see, the Schlieffen does commit, or wants to commit, on the Yamato and the Richthofen with the Kurfürst. So you can just stay here, avoid spotting, don't open up, just torp the broadside and let the torps do their work. Because he's so low, the torp damage alone will kill them. Otherwise, you should also not shoot until you finally get the flooding or engine damage, so the Schlieffen DCPs. Like if you would be 60k, you would wait first for the floods to first of all not alert him, and to get the fires right afterwards. Because if you alert people, they tend to turn into your torps, which means you're not gonna hit as many. Next issue now, we have 3 full HP BBs essentially. The Soyuz isn't full, but basically for a gun DD like Smâland it is full. The Yamato was definitely full, and the GK I have no clue, but most likely very healthy because he stayed back, and the Schlieffen was low, so I highly doubt they got Schlieffen and GK low. So what I'm trying here is to essentially go in front of the island, but then turn into B, so I can maybe use my speed boost to stay at like 7.8, 7.9 km, and use the Cyclone range to disengage from the secondaries. You can trade a fair bit of HP and fires into him. Best is to get a fire and hope that he DCPs. He DCPs now, so you just saw the lights, so that's why I'm instantaneously opening up, even though I'm a bit too close. But as you can see, I'm instantly popping speed boost and turning away. There's no use in staying in him, into his secondary range and inside the 8 kilometers. As you can see, I'm out of spotting now. The secondary stopped shooting. He also missed his shot because I could speed duke it. And as you saw, he had DCP down, so I could get 2 quick permafires. But now you can see, we're only like 5 ships left. The Hindenburg is most likely dead. He is already dead. The Nostroshimi is not going to pull a lot against Nevsky or Zuma Nakimov. They can essentially kill him. So for me, it's like inshallah time. It's now or never. Like, I hope that the Soyuz stayed like at 40k HP, like he was when he went dark, so I can essentially kill him with 8 torps. Problematic is though the GK is actually running at me. GK seems to be a bit confused. At this point the GK is getting like below 20k and he still has like unsaturated superstructure, so I tried to kill him or get fires again, and there I get really lucky. I get 2 perma fires again. They're only perma for a few seconds, but I do get the fires. Angling towards GK secondaries, and I essentially just come around the corner. I'm willing, because I have 18k HP left, I'm willing to take 1 big hit from the Soyuz. I can't avoid that. I'm already pre-popping the heal, as you can see. Like, I'm out healing secondaries and stuff. See? I stay alive, therefore, because I pre-popped the heal when the GK secondaries were already firing on me. Now I'm in his dark spot of the secondaries. Since he is turning in a weird way, I'm going to shoot now, because it's not said that my torps will actually kill him. Thankfully, my torps do all connect, because he overturns, and he dies. Good thing about that is, like pulling that off, we got 2 kills now, and I'm already stuck in A. Like, I'm already literally in the A cap, and the Nevsky and Yamato choose to go into the middle. And apparently the Nakimov, neither Azuma, became some sort of dented, moronic players that for some reason run it unspotted into A for like 3 minutes in the Cyclone, not doing anything. So it's, at this point I just like have to assure that we get A, but it's still not won by no means. The Cyclone is going to fade soonish, and I would have 2 heals, so my idea is to stay in this kind of area to farm the Yamato in mid, because we still have our carrier. Getting some chip damage on the Yamato, maybe getting DCPs out, fires, whatever. You can do that very well from this kind of island in front of you. Like, you can definitely lob with Smâland here. And also my torps are enough to kill essentially a full life Nevsky. I just have to make sure that I hit like all of my torps if he comes through. Um, that's very unfortunate that the Nevsky is actually like full sending it. It would be way better if he goes up to Yamato or Nustra, so I could go behind them. And now I definitely do a very big misplay. I am on a lot of damage. I do have a lot of achievements and kills. Also got 2 base caps. And I think I can make it a very, very insane game. So I'm maybe a bit overconfident even. The Nevsky is choosing a very unfortunate side for me because my nose is pointed towards that. So if I YOLO into him, I essentially die. That's it. I die. He's accelerating, and I thought he's accelerating and turning out, which he is not. He's slowing down again. Now he spots me, and I send it too early. I expected him to accelerate and turn out, or at least accelerate, so I can get closer, but he just stops there, and his DPM is enough. And now I have to make sure that I hit enough torps, and I don't manage to do it. I get, I think, 3 or 4 torp hits. I get even 5 torp hits, and I think he survives with 2000 HP here. Very unlucky. 2000 HP on him. He's going to be back with like 16, 17k HP, I believe, because he gets to heal now, obviously. There's still the Cyclone. The problem is now, trading him 1-for-1 would have been perfect, because we keep A for the entirety of the game. They're not going to touch A ever. Like the Nakimov was spotted going somewhere else. So, but now the issue is, we actually drop A. So, fast forwarding the game a bit. There you go. Some interesting lucky things happened. First of all, I think the Nevsky got decapped a bit for some reason. Problematic is our Nustra is insanely low. Our Richthofen is on the 9-10 line. I mean, I personally have no effect on the game anymore. But essentially what is going to happen is the Nevsky somehow dies to the Yamato. The Azuma gets cross-mapped like 22 kilometers from the Yamato as well, which also keeps our carrier alive at like 1000 HP. And the Nustra, I think, no, actually, because of the point lead of gaining like B and C so early, and I also I took A from them, essentially cutting their point gain for a bit and getting us, like there it is, the Zuma dies, keeping the CV alive on barely any HP. Because of the point gain, we can actually win now. And funnily enough, we also do win this game. Yamato miraculously smashing the Azuma, and also the Nevsky is spotted through our carrier because he is alive. The carrier stayed alive. He can now spot the Nevsky, and the Yamato gets like a 10k hit, and the Richthofen manages to get a sit. So that's enough point swing to make us win the game now. Very lucky. Sadly, I don't have the end screens. It was like 3.3k base in the end. Isn't that much. So what were my choices for captain for this game? We do be running a full farm build. Like that's the thing. On main account, I ran concealment and DPM for like 230, 240 games. It's pretty much all of them. There are like 30, 40 games I played with farm there as well now to get like to try it out. And now I played it on my second account because for randoms it's way more enjoyable. Let's say you get more damage, so you tend to actually have more impact on the game. But now on the second account I go full farm. Essentially means you drop concealment because you have a radar anyways. There's some nice things about that radar and actually having more conceal as well. I can go into it later. And you go AFT, Fearless Brawl, that's like the build I choose. And those are the modules. While we load like into the second game. Modules, obviously, if you go full farm, you choose the Speed Boost module. Speed Boost module allowing you to have round about like 20-second more speed boost duration. Though the Smâland speed boost is kind of gimmicky. It has the same effects as the Ragnar speed boost. I mean, that's where they copied it from. Thing is, Smâland speed boost reloads way quicker. Smâland speed boost is off cooldown for like 1.5 minutes, something like that. Ragnar speed boost reloads for like 3 minutes. So yeah, that's like the difference. But the effect is like still 30%, 30% speed gain, and therefore obviously insane maneuverability, even on these like more fat, sluggish DDs like Smâland and Ragnar. So we're going into the game, second game. Also Smâland again, obviously. That's why the video is probably titled something like Smâland. What do we have here? We have 5 BBs again, this time no carrier, which is really good. And we have, again, lucky matchmaking with the DDs. Well, what is perfect for Smâland to carry games is obviously a bunch of Torp DDs with like shit guns. Or like they have decent guns, but they won't use them correctly, so that's pretty good. Last game was like Gearing, Chungmu, and Schultz. Schultz can be disgusting. He can get like 8k pen hits, but in general, what you don't want to see is a Ragnar ever. Kleber is insanely shit because of the saturation and the potential of the reload boost. So every single time you engage him, he most likely has reload boost up. So you're going to eat a massive amount of shit because you have to be close to him with the speed boost. Like because he's speed boosting, you have to be kind of close to him. Otherwise, you won't hit. But if you're close to him, he obviously hits more. Yeah, and like Ragnar, Kleber, Marceau is also pretty dumb, but Marceau is a bit easier to deal with than Kleb and Rag. And Sherman. Sherman is like insanely disgusting. You really have to work your way around Shermans, catching them off guard, coming in from an angle. And if it's straight Sherman versus Smâland fight, the only thing you do is you pop speed boost and you create distance. You get the fuck out of there. Sherman can essentially 1-for-1 you at any given time. It has more HP and it's way more DPM with the SAP, and you're fat as fuck and you eat that SAP like a motherfucker, dude. Like, there's no way. Sadly, we have a submarine in this game. Submarines are a pain in the ass with Smâland. The only thing you can do is you can force them to dive with the radar if they come closer than 7.5 km. Other than that, there's essentially only your guns you can use against them. You being forced to stay nose in against them to drop your depth charges is insanely cringe, and on top of that, your depth charges do like 0 damage. I think I can hover over them. Yeah, like 8 of them, 2000. That's like barely anything. Daring gets like 16 charges and 5000 damage or something, so that's like the comparison you can draw. Ragnar is even worse, but Smâland is like just dodge subs in general. And late game, if they have no dive capacity, it's better to just kill them with guns. Other than that, we have Goliath, which we can ignore because it has pretty floaty shells, so we can dodge it with speed boost, and Petro. Problematic here is maybe that 3 of the battleships are secondary spec German BBs again, so 12.5 range on secondaries. It's as said with Marceau, Ragnar, like any gunboat DD, you generally don't want to fight deep into these secondaries. What I'm doing here is I got a mid-spawn again, so I can't play for the flank like Aryamagir or Klep do, which is by the way really good what they kind of do, so they ensure spotting and control of the flank. Like there's not a DD that can instantly rush it up. What I'm doing here is now also making my way to the flank essentially because I have to. Middle is insanely bad for me to fight in. My Torps are nowhere near capable of death striking full HP German secondary BBs or cruisers. They're also most likely unreliable in that as well. Like even if I hit, it's even hard to make 8 out of 8 hit. But then they're also unreliable to kill the target. So middle is generally shit. Also middle is, it's easier for DDs to hide behind rocks, so I want to go to the flank as well. Klep is already on the flank. My BBs choose to go nose in, for example the Mecklenburg. So what I kind of want to do now, also that the gearing, or shimmer it was, smokes off the Petro and therefore the spotting on me while I'm shooting. I want to ensure trading as much HP for my suiciding battleship that's like literally nose in, like fucking 8 kilometers in front of the enemy. I'm just trying to trade as much HP, and I could farm the BB here, would let net more damage, but the Petro is a bigger pain in the ass for me. Like if he stays nose in, that's not the ship that should stay healthy for the late game, so I'm trying to get some permafires on him. I also send Torps on the nose in targets. You can always use this narrow spread. Essentially, it's not single launching, but it's a very secure Torp hit, kind of. Like you most likely will hit a Torp, and you're only about the flood anyway. So you're most likely gonna hit the nose with like 1 Torp, and it's a flood. And then you get the DCP out, and you can go for like 2 permafires afterwards. That's a very nice combination, and that's also why Smâland is actually really, really strong. You can not only outgun most DDs, outradar them, outspot them, heal, and also dodge a lot with the speed boost. You can also use your Torps from time to time to get these kind of floods where you force DCPs. Here I actually forced the DCP earlier, so the flood is now permanent, which is also kind of nice. But as you saw also in the other game, these floodings, forcing DCPs, and then you have this kind of DPM, really good. So the enemy monk rushed mid. our Mecklenburg and Worcester both kill themselves essentially, and the flank is GK, Schlieffen, Petro. It's hard to hold anyway, but obviously the main issue currently is the Goliath, the submarine, and most likely even the Shimmer going there. The only thing that I have going for me is that Goliath now has floaty arcs, that's why I can engage it at that range. 100%, you should too. Your speed boost allows you to dodge his shells most likely for free. But we have to make kills happen now. We're down 3 kills. Enemy has like essentially full control of the map. And I mean the other side is being flooded by 3 DDs, Torp DDs, and there's an Yamato nose in. So most likely we're also going to lose another ship there. Also our Preußen is like running it now. So we already know we're going to lose 2 battleships, and question is just, can you make a good trade happen now? So the Goliath unluckily gets smoked by the Shimmer, and also he's insanely close to me, so now I can't dodge anymore. But I was full HP until this, so I'm fine by taking these hits. At least I can go so close to the Goliath that I'm smoke fire detecting him and I can finish him. Because I don't want him to super heal again. That would be a major mistake. Like if he super heals there, I have no control over killing him anymore. I essentially expect the way the Shimmer lay the smoke that the Shimmer made a turn in front of the smoke. And I just pressed the radar out of a feeling. The feeling obviously came true, like he is there, we can do some damage to him. We're not finishing him though. The Torps looked good, but they're not gonna kill him, and the Shimmer gets away with it. I think we kill him later on. Now I'm stuck in secondaries again, and essentially it's a full out brawl. Like the entire map is like fucking dying. Like our Preußen already is going to die soon. The Yamato already died as expected, so now on the other side we at least have 4 people that are kiting the enemy, so we don't have to expect hyper Mongrage there yet. It's going to take the enemy team a while to go through that. They even might actually even drop ships there finally. I have no clue why our Kleber is so passive behind me. I don't know what his HP is anyway. So now I'm trying to maybe zone and establish more control here against the Shimmer and the submarine, which I also don't know where it is. Now it pops up, funnily enough shotgunning our Minotaur, which is actually really, really bad. So yeah, at this moment you just gotta wait maybe a bit until you know what's actually happening. Shimmer gets spotted for 2 seconds. I shoot, because I kind of panicked there a bit. I got some hits, but I thought he would be spotted for a bit longer. Now that I shot anyway and I'm spotted and the GK is moving behind the rock, I'm going to shoot the GK a bit, but the Shimmer gets spotted, funnily enough, again. I don't know by what, but he gets spotted again. So I'm desperately trying to kill him now. It would be really good to get him out. That would maybe even allow us to win the game. Sadly, he has DCP up. I mean, actually, obviously he has DCP up. I'm trying to hit him. I do get in some good hits, but I don't think there's any follow-up fires or hits, so he's going to survive it. Yeah. Torping the corner against the GK, limiting his push capabilities, also limiting him to turn fully towards 9-10 line and getting his back guns on me. I know from the beginning, by the way, you saw he's a non-fire prevention GK, so I can definitely engage him here at 8 kilometers, because I do know that he gets 2 permafires if I need it, and I also get a lot of HE DPM in on GKs on superstructure. That's something that you can always keep in mind fighting like ships like GK. Certain ships you do a lot of HE alpha too, because the superstructure is very large and you can easily hit it. Other ships you have to go more through fires. For example, let's say Yamato. Musashi is probably the best example. Like, you're not gonna get a lot of HE damage on Musashi, so you have to essentially kill it through fires. So you also always keep in mind and look out for non-fire prevention BBs, because as you can see here, I get a double fire instantly, which means I have, like, you force people to DCP because of these double fires. And then afterwards you can get a double fire as well, which means you have a lot of ticking damage on him while also DPMing them still. Yeah. Other side, they kited, they didn't really kill anything, and this flank is now essentially also collapsed. My fellow Minotaur got shotgunned, my GK died now, I don't know what the other ship still was around here, so I'm just full on engaging the Schlieffen. Schlieffens most likely don't have fire prevention, so it's likely that I kill him, Problem is just how good is my fire RNG at this point, because he will be having a lot of DCPs up at quick succession, and it takes me too long essentially to stay in the secondaries forever until he has no DCP. So I need to get insta fires between the DCPs. I stopped shooting here now because now I still have room to kite out. But the only thing you can do in this situation is you even see the traces on the Schlieffen. You see how fast it shoots. He definitely has the 3 million module. He also has Lütjens procced. The only thing you can do in a Smâland here is run away. You have to stay at distance. You're going to eat massive damage even at distance, but you couldn't slow down. It's not a thing. You can't. You just can't. Schlieffen secondaries are massively dented against you. I slow down here because of the HE salvo. That is actually... okay, now I actually fucked my own point. If the battleship has HE loaded and the dispersion looks really good and the aim looks really good, you might actually have to slow down. I get a torpid, forcing the DCP again, as said earlier. That's why I also widespread them. I don't give a fuck if I get a lot of torp damage. It's all about the DCP. If you narrow spread them at this range, it's very against a Hydro BB, it's very likely they're hit or miss. Like he either has Hydro up and you miss them completely because he turns in, because you were only covering a small amount of area. Now we're actually in a 2 versus 4. Thankfully they traded out the DDs on the other side. But I'm still stuck against this full secondary Schlieffen who's running me down. I'm desperately trying to get enough DPM him. I'm desperately trying to get fires finally, perma-fires. I got one. Schlieffen has pretty large superstructure, so I'm at least getting some HE damage here as well. But now he's popping a heat on top of everything, so it takes me longer and longer and longer. Now I have to also dodge the HE shell. This time I have to dodge it while turning away, because I couldn't slow down at this point. Slowing down here in the secondaries would definitely mean I'm dead. And I'm just trying to, yeah, kill him. Like, there's nothing else. I'm already, like, reaching the border, and he's still, like, gaining ground on me. I mean, the ship is, if I don't have a speed boost, the ship is nearly as fast as me if he just straight lines. So now I can at least throw off the secondaries on the border, which is nice. I also threw off a shot, so I finally kill him. That man did 15 or 16k secondary damage to me, by the way. That's what the post-battle report showed, but only 5k main gun damage. That's how dented the Schlieffen AI gunners are. In Smâland, without speed boost, even sometimes with speed boost, suffers heavy because you're fat. And also fairly clumsy, and you have to obviously be spotted to deal damage in return. You're not gonna kill a Schlieffen by your torps alone, unless you're very close, and like he comes around an island. This game is going to stay interesting though. We're 2 torp DDs. I mean, I do have torps, I'm not essentially a torp DD, but we have 2 DDs with torps and good concealment against 3 battleships that are running into base. So, I also realized it, like after killing the Schlieffen, that even though I'm low and I have no heal anymore, I still have a speed boost, and I also have a radar that allows me to spot through the island in the cap. If the battleship tries to rush me around it, I can like play with him because I can provide myself with own spotting. Actually, interestingly enough, we didn't really see any DD versus DD gameplay. I'm shooting here because they're both moving behind a rock and the guns are not turned on me yet. So as you can see, I'm just shooting a bit, trying to get a fire maybe, and some damage. It's mostly about the fire, so the Shimmer can get a flood. And also we need some decaps from time to time now. But I already know I'm going to be unspotted. So this game, you shouldn't YOLO in at this point to get more damage. This game is actually winnable depending on torp RNG and also how the enemy battleships move. I can maybe farm and get fires without them actually being able to shoot back or spot me. So yeah. I'm pre-torping this side because the GK looks like he's coming around. I'm going towards this side to get torps in essentially. Then I will most likely either turn away or turn in. I think I choose to turn in because he's 11-2 away and he now turns also away from me, so that's kind of fine. Shimmer gets a torpid with the permaflood. I think I had a fire before that, so that's why the GK DCP'd, and the Shimmer finishes him off with the flood, which is really good. Essentially the reason why I shot. I think I procced his DCP, I don't remember what happened like 30 seconds ago. May have the mind of a goldfish. Yeah, so now the 2 BBs are obviously hyper-focused on the Shimmer. Like they want to angle their noses in. Problem is just cap is getting awfully close to actually being capped out. Both ships have cap. I'm trying desperately to lob the island now to decap the Yamato. Both ships have cap. That's also why I popped the speed boost. I need to get into a position here to decap. I'm going to slow down in a few seconds, so yep, exactly. I'm going to reverse, so the Yamato isn't spotting me around the corner. So I'm going to stop shooting here, I think. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to stop shooting here because I don't want to be spotted. But yeah, Shimmer luckily hits even more torps, but I would have been in time for decapping as well. Yamato doesn't have the guns turned. I know I can reverse and go dark again, so I'm going to shoot him now. Essentially the same thing as before. I tried to get fires, so he DCPs, so Shimmer or me can get permafloods or permafires afterwards. They're so desperate, they're blind firing me. GK did the same. Here it comes. 2 fires. He DCPs now. Sadly, the one wreck of the Shimmer missed. So now I'm kind of pacing myself around the island. So as you can see, I'm going forward while he goes behind the island, so I can keep shooting him for a bit longer. IGN DCP is very short, it's like 10 seconds or something, so I know I can get fire soonish. I get the 1 fire, that's fine. He drops a bit more HP. Hoping obviously that he doesn't have a lot of heals left. I think it turns out that he has 1,000,000 heals left, obviously because he was like backline camping with Yamato. The Yamato now trying to go around the corner, that's why I'm reversing. It's a perfect position. If he comes around that way, I can escape nose in towards the border, so I can escape the spotting. Shimmer gets himself surface lit here for some reason. He's also not a good player, but he played that specific game really well there. He gets himself surface lit, which essentially, I expect him to die now. I 100% do. So that's why I'm like heavily aggressively trying to reverse and get torps into him. The Yamato slowed down to shoot the Shimmer, so I'm expecting him to just now accelerate and go nose in around the corner, like come around the corner right nose in and try to surface light me because he always saw me shooting from here. Now I'm trying to help kill the Colombo while the Colombo is still fighting the Shimmer. The Shimmer luckily gets another torp and didn't even die. Like the battleships did a massive fuck up there. That man actually nearly catches me because he doesn't come nose in around the corner. He actually turns out, which is really weird. But since he's like full turning, his turrets can't keep up, so in the end it doesn't really matter. I get another fire. He DCPs again, so Shimmer could get permanent floods now. Yeah, somehow the Shimmer survived. Also the Shimmer on top of everything kills the Colombo. But the reason I instantly open water shot the Colombo was that the Yamato is still behind the island, can't shoot me, and the Colombo is still aiming for the Shimmer. Maybe he still has reload on the guns or even has to turn the guns first to shoot me. So I'm like trying to get maybe a fire in, some HE in because he was on 11k, so I have to kill him. So there's not like 2 people that can create a crossfire or spotting issue against me. Yeah. It turns out everything was like fine, no need to panic. Shimmer killed him anyway, Shimmer's alive, everything all fine, he's like 50 HP, totally cool, absolutely calculated, so no worries there. And now Yamato's dodging me, Shimmer obviously luckily staying alive, torping him from the front, he DCP'd, so if he eats Peats now he's going to permaflood. I also have torps ready again. Shimmer is still spotting for me. Everything is like perfect at this point. We somehow managed to claw it back. Yeah, I torp as well. Yamato is most likely going to run it in. There he takes the permaflood with another torp. The Shimmer has like 1,000,000 torp hits against these BBs. Constantly torping them. Yeah. Now I try to steal the kill because I'm a scummy little boy. With AP. By the way, good choice. If it's 32 upper belt on Yamato, so you penetrate the upper belt with Smâland, and there you go. It's by the way a battleship where you should choose to shoot some AP from time to time. Definitely close up Musashi, Yamato. You can smash them a lot. German battleships never load AP against them broadside. It's brain dead. You don't pen the upper belt anyways, unless you're so close that the second they shred you anyway. Then you have other issues. Kreml also pretty bad. Just load it against like stuff that has 32 millimeters sometimes, but the best is like Yamato Musashi. Thunderer Conqueror also works, I guess. Repub and Colombo can also be good because it's very flat 50 millimeter. You also penetrate it. These are the end screens. That's actually like I think my first 300k game in Smâland. The other one was 299, obviously very close, but I fucked it in the end. Yeah, we have Dreadnought, where we went through all heals. You get that a lot on Smâland if you go through all heals and survive with a bit of HP, which is likely because if you're really low, you can still play the ship as kind of a torp boat and spotter. So it's very, very nice. Wither, high caliber, everything, like, yeah, it's not that special. Base XP is actually hilariously low. It's only 2.6 base, 2.8 base, and the Shimmer also really low. It's only 2 base. Most likely because we both did damage to BBs. No DDs involved there, or no cruisers. Also no plane kills or anything. The other game was 3.3 base, I remember. Was also fairly low for what I did, but yeah, it was like low tier as well. Also BB damage again. Um, doesn't really matter. The big XP games in Smâland are most likely not the big damage games, because the big XP games come when you actually murder DDs. This is, by the way, great. Uh, yeah, actually, here's the damage. I did 85k to the Schlieffen. I essentially killed him by myself. And as you can see, I took 31k, 31.6. And 15,000 of that, or 16,000, is actually just secondary damage from the Schlieffen. It's kind of shit to play against. But now we can go a bit into the captain spec. You can play Smâland with RPF concealment or Fearless Brawl concealment and just hunt DDs. That is good, but you kind of limit yourself currently to do anything against like most cruisers and battleships. And essentially you're limiting yourself 100% to do anything against secondary BBs, especially full sec Schlieffens, but full sec Ohio, full sec GK, full sec Preußen is also a big issue for you. Even the tier 9 BBs are outranging your main gun range with their secondaries. So essentially, if you want to trade damage on them because you need it to win the game, you're always forced to take damage in return, a lot of damage. So that's why AFT is actually fairly nice. A more safe build would be to drop Fearless Brawl for concealment. Then again, actually being spotted further out and having a further out notice that there's a DD coming so you can radar is sometimes good, because you can press speed boost earlier, radar earlier, and turn out earlier. Like, you don't have to go as close to the enemy DD, because if you're face checking them at, like, as you know, 6.1 would be normal conceal, and you would spot them, they're most likely already at 5.6 or something because of the spotting delay. And then even like shimmer guns can definitely hurt. But if you have like an earlier warning that you're already spotted, you can counter radar. What you need on Smâland is definitely survivability expert, adrenaline rush, and superintendent. Like, these are definitely mandatory, giving you a lot of utility, a lot of extra DPM. Smâland definitely loses HP, gains HP back from the heals, like they synergize as well. Last stand and preemptive maintenance obviously as well on DDs. And I take turret. Turrets are not 360. Turret is definitely sometimes handy if a DD ambushes you, and I'm personally not at all a fan of incoming fire, because it just chimps out a lot if people spam you. So you don't really get an information when a big ship shoots you. So I'm just looking out for it. And since I play AFT, I can stay at range as well and be a bit more effective that way. We already saw the modules. I picked the speed boost because it's actually full farm build. Again, as with all other DDs, you pick the reload module and you spec range in the captain. If you do it the other way around, you have no basic understanding of the game or mathematics. It's very simple. The captain point for range gives you more range than the same captain point or value for captain points for DPM, while the reload mod gives you more DPM than the captain skill, and the range mod less range than the captain skill. So you always spec range through captain if you really want it on the DDs, and you spec DPM through the reload mod on DDs if you want it. Double range is obviously hilariously cringe, and I don't know a single DD where I would play double range. Acceleration mod as always, concealment mod as always. The turps are already very fast, and as I said, they're most likely only a means, or you should use them as a means to get floods. Overall, I mean, sometimes you do death strike people, or you can preempt cruisers from rushing you, because they do have some sort of alpha, like 50-60k on cruisers. But I picked the gun accuracy, because that's like the main thing you want in the beginning of the match. Your guns to be more accurate against enemy DDs when you fight them. And I go speed boost, because the speed boost, you have 5 charges with superintendent, they are off cooldown very quick, and you do gain 20% or 25% per speed boost with the module. I think 25 it is. On main account I run the same captain build, but I still run radar module. Radar module I would personally advise for radar module. I'm just picking speed to get more average damage for leaderboard, or generally more average damage on the ship. But in general, a viable build is the radar mod, because Smâland radar do be very short. It's not a Ragnar radar. It do be very short, and it's most likely not enough to kill full life DDs in most scenarios. If they smoke, as you saw with the Shimmer, and they're too far out, you're not gonna kill him in one radar. But if I had radar mod, maybe I kill the Shimmer if he stays in range at least, and you're sure that you keep radaring him. Yeah, that's like it. In terms of captain spec, you can definitely run the DD Hunter build in randoms. Also, that's like the com spec where you drop, or we definitely go concealment because you're contesting, and you definitely go RPF to pinpoint the enemy DD. Most likely dropping AFT, because if a Smâland has to farm in comp, it's most likely tits up already. It shouldn't come to it that you have to farm heavy. You still keep the torps. You can run that comp build in randoms. You will also get a very high win rate, most likely higher than any other DD, just because Smâland is that broken with the radar. I would say though, if you're like trying to get the most value out of Smâland, I never thought I would say that, but if you want to get like the highest win rate solo possible, you at least have to spec AFT. It's the same as Marceau. The base range is not enough anymore, with the secondary ranges buffed since a year now, since the captain rework. The base ranges of these DDs are not enough to make your main armament be impactful the entire time every game. There are too many secondary German BBs, and they do have too much range, accuracy, and DPM on these secondaries. Essentially, you have to also sometimes farm battleships or cruisers at range with Smâland or, for example, Marceau to win a game. It's inevitable. You can't just go around and kill DDs and hope your team wins. You will get obviously like 60-70% win rate if you're lucky. Most likely 60-65 for sure. You take out DDs. But if you want to go a step further, you can definitely work your way around DDs without RPF or more DPM as well, and spec AFT for it. Like you could go concealment AFT instead of RPF concealment, or Fearless Brawl concealment. Yeah, you can definitely do that, but definitely, yeah, spec AFT. It's just, sadly, it's that way. I played Smâland without AFT. I played it always like DPM concealment on main account, never RPF. That's like too cringe for me. Damage is still fine. I mean, you can still do leaderboarding as well, but that was before they increased secondary ranges. I haven't played Smâland in like 1 to 2 years, 1.5 years, let's say. I haven't really played it a lot, in randoms at least. And now that the secondaries is so omnipresent and also pressuring you so hard in a gunboat DD, if they start running, AFT is just kind of the best way to deal with like every target. It is what it is, boys. So that's it for Smâland. I've annoyed you for like nearly 50 minutes now. Hopefully you could take anything from that. If you have any questions, just ask. I'm going to play Smâland a lot on stream still. You can also ask for it always. I kind of really enjoy that ship because you can solo carry a lot. Sadly, you can't get it anymore unless you spend a few €1,000 on Christmas crates. Maybe you should do that. I don't know. Anyways, like, take it easy. Take care. Have a great week, and see you soon.